Compass Mining is your trusted partner in Bitcoin mining. Whether you're investing in one machine or thousands, our customizable solutions are tailored to meet your needs. We are your experts in Bitcoin mining, offering a platform where individuals and businesses can purchase hardware, host machines, and access a range of ancillary Bitcoin mining services. We also specialize in large-scale site development and data center operations. Discover more at compassmining.io and see how we can power your success today. Hey miners, welcome back to the channel McNallie Money, the official home of power mining analysis. Big videos last night. Jason Les, CEO of Riot Platforms, was on the program yesterday. We also put out our Miner Madness 2.0 launch video, so make sure you check those out. In today's podcast, a flurry of news in the Bitcoin mining sector, including the big convertible note news from CleanSpark and some additional housekeeping updates. Before we get into that, take a second, smash the like button, you guys. Big help to myself and the channel. Anthony loves it. If you're not already subscribed, McNallie Money, feel free to join and let us know in the comment section below how you're feeling about the mining space today, your outlook in terms of the price target on Bitcoin in the final 2 weeks of 2024, and your thoughts as we head into next year. Now, with that being said, let's get into today's video. Okay, guys, so that's right. Wednesday morning, we've got a live podcast coming up with Sebastian in a couple hours' time, but we had a few news articles, Anthony, that came out overnight. Timely, we wanted to get on and talk about these following our big interview with Jason Les and Riot yesterday. So shaping up to be quite an action-packed week. The miners, again, are struggling today. We'll come on to that in a second, but no shortage of news, as we like to say in the miner sector.
Yeah, plenty news, and yeah, still feeling good about last night's interview with Jason. Very transparent, lays it all out there, and I think 2025 could be their year. We said 2024 needs to be an improvement, and we've seen that improvement, but there's still a little bit of way to go, and Jason knows that as well, and that gap's going to close. So yeah, feel really good at the moment.
And I don't know about you, Anthony. I sure got the impression they were reconsidering or strongly considering the HPC angle towards the end of the interview. When we started to ask about construction updates at Corsicana, the crew, you made a great point there. Wouldn't it be a little more logical just to keep the boys working straight through? It seems to me they are either reconsidering or maybe in discussion with an HPC partner. Did you get that vibe?
Absolutely. It wouldn't surprise me if Riot actually pip a few of these other miners to announce something. They're ahead of quite a few of these miners in terms of they have a facility, they have power, they have land that's already been cultivated and ready to build on. They tick so many boxes, and also they have, a significant amount of their own funding, should they even require that. I mean, every miner will be hoping to sort of have a hyperscaler come in and help fund the expansion and the refurbishment of current existing places. But, Riot also have well over $1 billion in capital and cash and Bitcoin in treasury to help things or to alleviate any of those pressures.
They certainly do. Now, one other piece you brought up in yesterday's interview, Anthony, was the difference. We hear about these power pipelines. However, as you just said, there's quite a difference between a piece of land like Corsicana that's essentially ready to go and some of these fields with a gate on them. So that's a big point of differentiation here. A lot of people have been asking us about Bitdeer, why this sudden surge in share price. The thing you need to understand, and you can add some color here, Anthony, not only does Bitdeer have a massive pipeline of infrastructure coming, but a lot of this stuff is already in development for 2025. So can you just give the viewers a little bit of a context as to the difference and evolution of these sites?
Yeah, I mean, bear in mind it's over 2 years ago since Riot broke ground on Corsicana, and it took, a long time. I mean, 75,000 trucks to remove the earth to make it into a site that could then build on. It has it has its own water, there, and they're looking to to increase that should the advent of HPC be required. It's obviously got the fiber connection. It's now operating effectively at the 400 megawatts. Is probably energized now, and we'll get notification of that in the next week or so as they increase their hash rate at the site there. But everything's in a row now for Riot. And the turnaround, I mean, me and you were there on I think it was the 12th or the 13th of June this year when, effectively Jason wouldn't even take a question on HPC because they were fairly adamant, and they had a reason for it. I mean, end of the day, they're one of the lowest cost producers of Bitcoin when you can look at the peer miners as well. As well the likes of CleanSpark and Cypher and TeraWulf. And CleanSpark haven't even thought about going into HPC. They've been adamant they're definitely not. But Riot, in the last podcast and last night's podcast, certainly have changed their attitude. And I feel it's this predictability, less volatility, potentially big revenues coming through. Yes, if the Bitcoin price gets to $1 million, then game over, isn't it? I mean, but Bitcoin price isn't $1 million; it's 104,000 today. So it's still got a long way to go before that conversation switches back to Bitcoin mining. So why not utilize an element of your power? And if they're going to utilize the 600 megawatts remaining, they're still using over 1 gigawatt of power just for Bitcoin mining at the Rockdale facility and the 400 megawatts that they've got switched on, all in immersion cooling at Corsicana.
Yeah, the thing I like about this story, Anthony, and the CleanSpark story, all of the other miners, they've hinted or had some interest in HPC. So there's some element of that built into their share price or priced in. With Riot and CleanSpark up until basically last night, these companies wanted nothing to do with HPC. So therefore, I don't feel like there's any factor or premium built into those two companies. Even in Amsterdam, you and I spent some good time with Zach Bradford chatting, and he joked that who knows, they may pick up some distressed HPC assets in a few years' time as well. So time will tell, as we like to say, but definitely Jason was hitting that chord strong last night, saying that predictable revenue is something the market loves and that Riot is looking for. So we will see how that plays out. The other big development last night, Miner Madness 2.0. So this was a brainchild of yours, Anthony. Mid podcast, about 4 months ago, you came up with the idea. It's been incredible, driven so much activity to the platform, to the channel, to the website. We had, I think, 315 contestants in Q4, Miner Madness 1.0. Now we're launching Miner Madness 2.0 in Q1 of 2025 with a goal of 1,000 contestants, making this the biggest online Bitcoin mining stock competition I've ever heard of.
Yeah, absolutely. It was, and bear in mind, for that first competition, we literally gave, I think it was just short of a week for people to put in, and we had nearly 400 entries, to be honest with you. We couldn't accept some of the entries because not everybody followed the rules. The rules are quite, well, I felt they were quite straightforward. It was list your 3 best miners. They have to be Bitcoin miners, so that gives a clue away. And also, you have to put the Bitcoin price that you expect it to finish at on the 31st of December. So you only had like 4 bits of information to put in there, but believe you me, over 80 people couldn't get that bit right. And so, the challenge, we did try, and believe you me, we did try to go back to these individuals and say, look, we're going to give you a day or two because you've put, 2 miners or you put, 3 miners and not put the Bitcoin price. And we managed to get a couple of people respond, but there was over 80 people who were just, and actually we've even in a separate table, I've even sort of like kept those going just to see, and some of them were really good actually. We picked some really good, some mining stocks there. So, the instructions are very clear. It's quite simple, but it's had a great effect. Everybody's, even I look on a daily basis, see how I'm doing compared to the other analysts. We're about just over a week away from the end of the competition, and the likes of Bitdeer and Hut and Canaan are basically, are so far clear of the other miners that have to be some sort of real change for those to not be the 3 best performing stocks. And at one point, I think Canaan and Bitdeer were like 200% up since the 1st of October, 200% increase in share price, within, literally 10 weeks. It's just amazing. And we've already started, like you say, we've already started to receive entries. It only went out today. And I think people this time are thinking, let's get our stocks in there. We've reached out to more analysts as well. We want this to be, try and be as big as possible. So there are a number of other analysts out there didn't have chance, or maybe didn't see the initial competition, but we're reaching out to those now, and hopefully those join. And that creates a bit more interest, because you want to see how the analyst, if you follow a certain person, Sebastian's got a big following. We reached out to Tom as well. Lots of interest, and we'll see how it goes in the first quarter of 2025.
We sure will. I don't know if Penny Ether will join. I asked him last quarter. He said no, but we did get Rex Finance, a big CleanSpark bull. And actually, we're going to come on to CleanSpark in a second. Now, two things you mentioned there, Anthony, the timing. So we get a lot of comments here, and honestly, a little bit frustrating to me, Anthony, people criticizing the Bitcoin miners. And this Miner Madness competition shows exactly how important it is to be selective and look at these miners at different time intervals throughout the bull cycle. There's a lot of people in the chat that continue to hold on to Bitfarms, Riot, some of the laggers, but they have no exposure to Hut, to Wolf, to Cores, to Bitdeer. And then they go on to say the miners are disappointing or lagging Bitcoin price. So this competition shows you exactly how big that spread can be. These were all Bitcoin mining stocks. And if you look at the guy in first place versus last, it's a big delta.
And let's be very, very clear. In terms of the competition period, so from the 1st of October to today's date, there are at least 8 mining companies that have outperformed Bitcoin price in that period. So when we see these comments about these miners not doing anything, 8 of them have outperformed Bitcoin, which is, what you want to see. Yes, there's a number of miners that have not even achieved a positive position over that period. So there's probably 6 or 7 miners. Some of the smaller miners haven't performed. Bitfarms has struggled to perform over that period, and it was the third most chosen mining stock. And I know, going back to 2021 or 2020 when I was starting this space, and I did regular requests to followers to let me know their biggest stocks or their favorites. And every year, Bitfarms has been in the top 3. So it wasn't a surprise when they were top 3 in the competition in terms of choice. IREN were number 1, CleanSpark 2, and Bitfarms were 3. But in terms of share performance, we talked about in the podcast already. That target miss in June probably affected them quite badly, and it took them 5 months to get to 12 exahash. They had a target of 21 by the end of the year. That's now been put back to probably into the second half of 2025. So, as quick as the market is to praise miners for increasing hash rate, like they have done with the likes of IREN and CleanSpark, they're equally quick to take away share premium if you don't meet those targets.
Yeah, a double-edged sword. You put the target on your back, you're either a hero or a zero if you hit that or not. Interesting you bring up the errors in Miner Madness. We actually had one guy last night, Anthony, 3 miners, no Bitcoin price. He put his entry in about 4 minutes after I posted the video. So take your time, you guys. We're going to be taking the share price on the end of day, January 10th. So you've got about 3 weeks. There's no rush. Do your due diligence. Make your selection. Just make sure you either put your selection on yesterday's video comment section, the yellow Miner Madness 2.0 video, or on our Power Mining Analysis Twitter pinned post. Those are the only 2 places you can enter the competition. Top 3 miners by percentage gain, January 10th close to the end of March. So March 31st, the top percentage gain overall is going to be the winner. In the event of a tiebreaker, that's where the Bitcoin price comes into play. We've got a plethora of prizes and swag here, Anthony. So make sure you take advantage. It's 100% free. Sign up for the newsletter. You can get all the updates and cement your name as one of the greats in the Bitcoin mining space. Now, with that being said, on to the news here, Anthony. We alluded to CleanSpark. Rex, if you're watching the program here, this is one of your favorites, buddy. I assume this will be your first pick in Miner Madness. They came out with some big news last night in relation to the convertible note. So, Anthony, I know you dug into this. You put out an article. Maybe walk us through the CleanSpark specifics, and then In general, why are so many companies doing these convertibles now?
So CleanSpark have followed the likes of Marathon, Riot, TeraWulf, Core Scientific, Bitdeer, who have all in the last sort of 5 or 6 months processed some of these convertible notes. And I'll answer your question first about why. The why is because really the interest rates on this type of debt have been quite low. So going back to 2021, 2022, when miners were utilizing debt in those years, interest rates were as high as 18, 19%. But a lot of these convertible notes, and we'll talk about the CleanSpark now, CleanSpark's convertible note is at 0% coupon rate. And Marathon also managed to achieve 0%. I think Riot's was 0.75%. Core Scientific had a very low percentage as well, and Bitdeer was reasonably low as well, far lower than the normal debt markets. And basically, CleanSpark have managed to grow significantly over the last 2 years. They've utilized the ATM, and effectively, their last ATM, they've used everything. They spent the whole ATM. So that I think it was an 800 megawatt. It was an $800 million ATM, and I think it was announced back in March. So between March and November, if you've gone through the recent 10 Q, you'll know that I think they sold 42 million shares over that last 3 months of the ATM, and now it's empty. And so by looking at the rest of the mining companies that have been using these convertible notes, CleanSpark have also looked at what they need to achieve, in the next year or so to grow to that 50 exahash. They've got a target of 37, which they'll likely achieve at the end of this month, and they've got a target of over 50 exahash for 2025. And they know that to get to that target, this is very interesting as well. To get that target, they only need $163 million more of funds. And so by using this convertible note, 650 million, that gets them well on the way to do that and gives them more capital for purposes. The note features a strike price of $14.80. So at the time of the note was processed, the share price was $12.33, and so a 20% premium has been provided on that there. The strike price of $14.80, and that's allowing for 100% conversion without any immediate dilution. Additionally to that, CleanSpark have also initiated 145 million stock buyback, and that's they're aiming to repurchase 11.7 million shares, which will further solidify their financial position. The buyback will delay new share issuance until the stock price exceeds $33.67. So they're not going to, issue any more shares until that point in time there. And $33.67 is a 170% increase on where the share price was when this was first announced. And they went through the process over a week ago. So they were speaking to investment banks all last week. They did 30 half-hour calls over the space of 3 days. And they were starting some of these calls at sort of like 4 o'clock in the morning and, literally going through all day for 3 days. And they spoke to 30 investors or investment banks. And this was led by Cantor Fitzgerald, one of the big Wall Street investment banks. And 28 of the 30 they spoke to are participating in this convertible note. So that shows you it was really, really popular. Now, bear in mind, CleanSpark aren't doing what the likes of Marathon Digital or Riot are doing. They're not going to back Bitcoin. They're using this funding to bolster their future growth opportunities. Zach's made it really clear they produce one of the cheapest Bitcoins of all the miners at about 36,000, just over $36,000. So why would they go out and start spending 104,000? They want to grow, get the hash rate, produce more, keep up with the certainly with the global hash rate, and take account of how much impact the difficulty is having to hash rate growth, and be ahead of both of those. The 650 million, after using the call option and this stock buyback, it leaves them about $400 million to actually use then for investment and to grow the company as they see fit over the next year or so. That'll be buying more miners to get to that 50, and also then what they do post the 50 strategy when they've reached that figure.
Compass Mining makes Bitcoin mining accessible to everyone. Start mining in as little as 48 hours with our turnkey hardware, online and mining directly to your Bitcoin wallet within 2 business days. Find out more at compassmining.io and get started now.
Yeah, very nice explanation. I caught Gary V walking through the convertible last night as well. Interesting, the timing component. Yes, they can produce Bitcoin cheaper, but what amount of time is it going to take to get this infrastructure online, and what will the price of Bitcoin be at that point in time? That was really the point Jason stressed last night. There's no question mining it is more cost effective. It's just the time factor now for a lot of these miners as we're entering this bull run. But great to see that. The capped call, Anthony. So we looked into that a little bit as well. We saw this with IREN and CleanSpark setting a cap price 100% above their current share price. This is an anti-dilution method. So obviously CleanSpark, with the share repurchase and with this capped call strategy, very worried about the number of shares out, potentially looking to rein that in a little bit after they've been using that ATM so effectively in 2024. So a great video there if you want some more details on the capped call structure. Now, Anthony, we've talked about Bitfarms briefly as well in relation to the Riot discussion last night. They've come out with some news today talking about amending and restarting their ATM program. So this is more of a housekeeping, but what does this mean to investors?
Yeah, they filed a second amended and restated prospectus supplement, which was dated yesterday. And basically, it's updating the previous supplements from March and October 2024. And the reason for doing this is the actual the merge with or the takeover of Stronghold Mining. And basically, they're going to incorporate some of the financials from Stronghold Mining into this prospectus. And of the 375 million existing ATM, they've currently got about 87 million remaining for sale under that program, which exclusively operates in the US market. And the proceeds, from the sales of these shares will be to finance capital expenditures for mining operations and supporting general corporate needs. So not in terms of buying Bitcoin or anything like that. But they've already, as I've already indicated, they've already raised over 288 million through the program. So it's more of a housekeeping thing. It incorporates the Stronghold Mining financial arrangements for the last 3 and 9 months of 2024, so they can be part of that prospectus.
And another one we quickly wanted to touch on, Anthony, Hut 8 Corp. They've put out a press release in relation to one of their directors, Amy Wilkinson. I actually worked with a girl with the last name of Wilkinson back in the day, so I wonder if this is a related or relative, but making the top 100 list in terms of directors. So this was a great accolade for the team. We've seen a lot of strength coming out of Hut 8 Corp over the last few quarters. This is yet another check in the box, hey?
Yes, it's really great that Amy's been named as part of the top 100 of the National Association of Corporate Directors. And this recognizes, her influence in corporate governance. She's an innovation expert and a CEO of Ingenuity, has a distinguished career in investment banking, consulting, and public policy. She's served on the Hut 8 board since its merger with US BTC in 2023, and she's also a lecturer at Stanford Graduate School of Business. So great to have her part of the Hut 8 team. And yesterday there were a number of Wall Street analysts increasing Hut 8's stock price to, I think one had it at $38 and another had it at $41. So Hut 8's getting a lot of traction at the moment. We saw the announcement last week. This potential $12 billion dollar HPC venture that they're going into, I think, with Meta, and the locality of the venture has been announced on social media. So it looks like it's all positive. We were expecting an announcement soon anyway, because when Asher came on the podcast recently, and Sue, there was an indication that this 430 megawatts of power was all but done and dusted and signed, and all we were waiting for was a name. So it looks like someone's jumped the gun a little bit, but great for Hut 8. Share price has been certainly one of the highest moving share prices. We already announced that earlier in the podcast, along with Bitdeer. Yeah, this is just another good news story for Hut today.
It certainly is. Talking about building that bench strength, or the team at Hut 8. Yeah, very interesting sequencing on that news, or rumors of news with Hut 8 and the HPC deal. So curious to get some comments there. We've reached out to Sue. They don't have an official comment from the company, but you're right. We've seen a plethora of details coming out in relation to that agreement. The final one, Anthony, Soluna. So this is one we cover extensively on the channel as well. Making strides in the AI computing space by opening up some new financing options.
Yeah, they've announced a strategic partnership with a company called Ginga, a leading embedded payments platform, and by collaborating together, this will increase the accessibility to HPC solutions by offering some flexible payment options for Soluna's clients, and it'll allow customers to adopt Soluna's A Cloud technology without having to go through all those upfront costs.
Yeah.
And therefore, it'll promote financial agility and operational continuity. We've had John on the podcast many times this year, talking through their emphasis of going into the HPC space and starting with the model they had there, so they could learn lessons from that and grow. And he's emphasized that the partnership goal of removing some of these financial barriers, and highlighted the importance of investing in sustainable digital infrastructure for the future of AI-driven economy. And together, these two companies will support industry-wide adoption of renewable data management solutions. So a really good update from Soluna today. Saw the share price has had a bit of a hit lately, but we saw a positive uprise earlier in trading today. I'm not sure it is at the moment, but there was an increase today in the share price.
Yeah, and one of the big challenges with AI HPC is obviously the upfront costs, the capex, the amount of money to get involved in this space. That's why the Magnificent Seven are in such a good position. They've got the money to build these data centers themselves. However, a lot of companies don't. So this is a great example of helping that onboard process at Soluna Holdings. So as we finish up here, Anthony, we take a look at the miners. Again, a mixed bag today. I'd say mostly red from what I can see. We kind of expect this chop over the next few days here. There's going to be some consolidation. There's a Fed meeting this week. And obviously, we've had some big pushes in the price of Bitcoin. So healthy consolidation, no problem by us. But I'll pass it to you for closing thoughts.
Yeah, just as I say, Bitcoin, yesterday reached another all-time high, so a little bit of a pullback today. But we've seen these pullbacks over the last couple of months, and they haven't been extreme at all. Normally 3-4%, and then we see a starting to push through, and as I say, no need to follow the Bitcoin price every minute. It's doing well enough on its own. Share prices, I mean, bear in mind, I was thinking about this on the way to getting ready for the podcast. I mean, bear in mind that even at $104,000, all these miners will be mining Bitcoin profitably at that level. So, that this is going to be a really good quarter for the miners, no matter where the Bitcoin price really ends up, because they've had the benefit of having the price rise, I think from something like 70,000 all the way up to 100,000 plus,
Yeah.
hopefully by the end of December. So there's going to be some great revenues posted for effectively the last quarter of 2024. But yeah, today, majority of miners are down. Some of the miners are down that have been rising lately. So, we've seen some of the companies. Cypher was up 20% the other day, and now it's, a little bit of a pullback, 3.6% down there. TeraWulf, has had a great run over the last few months there. A little bit of a pullback for them, but nothing dramatic there. As I say, Soluna's in the green, Bitdeer's in the green, CleanSpark again. It's really positive news stories around CleanSpark. I don't think they're currently getting all the recognition for what they're doing out there. They are one of the cheapest producers in terms of Bitcoin mining, and they've articulated that amount of 36,250 per Bitcoin. That gives them a massive margin to work with there at the current price, getting on for $70,000 per Bitcoin, and they produce a lot of it. They produced over 600 in the month of November, and that's going to increase in December. And once they start moving that hash rate up in 2025, you'll see that that amount of Bitcoin continually increase, providing obviously the difficulty doesn't wipe away too much.
Yeah, it's a great point you bring up. Q4 is done in only 2 weeks' time. And whether these miners are selling, you're going to see huge revenue increases, or hodling, we'll see huge FASB increases. Either way, going to be a great quarter coming off a very difficult Q3. So the quarter over quarter comps are going to look very impressive. I think that really may start to get a lot of the Wall Street and institutional guys interested in these companies when they start to see those positive earnings per share and the big quarter over quarter beats. So again, we'll see in a few weeks' time how that works out. The other nice thing, Anthony, these companies are going to be reporting that fourth quarter right as Trump is starting up his strategic reserve buying. So I think that'll be great. And final note here, you guys, for any of you MicroStrategy bulls, look at a 1 month chart. MicroStrategy is flat over the last 30 days. So anyone on here saying that the proxy is MicroStrategy, I would challenge that statement. As we said last week, Anthony, we think the miners will outperform from here, and it's proving to be true so far. So guys, let us know in the comment section below. Make sure you go in, check out that interview with Jason. We've got Sebastian coming up in about an hour's time, and Miner Madness entry competition, last night's video. So much going on. We'll see you back here tomorrow.